save as. Then we have finally we have the exit. Now we need to change the code, or this part which says run my code. So every time any button is clicked, it will, for now it will just run the code, but later on when we actually type in the code for these functionalities, we will change them. So let's run and see if everything's working. Okay, so we have the run and the file, though the order is wrong, but we have it. So let's correct the order. This should be very simple. Now the reason order is wrong is because we have the run bar on top and the file menu at the bottom. So let's just change it to the other way around and save our code and try running it again and see if this helps. Okay, so now we have it in the proper order, and now let's head on to adding the functionalities for these buttons. To start with adding the functionalities to these options, let's start with the exit one, which is the pretty simplest one. So if you type in just exit, that's it, it works. So when you click on the exit, it will close everything. And yeah, next let's do the functionality for our open button. So our open, okay, on this open. So what should happen if you click on open? So basically you should be prompted with a dialog box to select a file and then open it up, right? So for the dialog box, we need to import something from Tkinter, which is from Tkinter dot file dialog. We need to import something called ask open file name, and we will also import something else which we'll use in the other one, is ask open file names, right? So then we can come back to our open function over here, and what we can do is we can say that our path is equal to ask open file name, and then to filter the file types we can say file types. So file types equal, and we can pass in, say, so we only want the Python, we are only interested in the Python files, so we'll just say Python files, and this should be within quotes Python files, and the extension should be anything that has .py at the end, so asterisk and .py. So this is for, this will open the dialog and we'll be able to select our .py files, sorry. Once we have selected our files, what we'll do is we'll open these files. So we'll say with open, okay, let me not name it open, and let me name it open my file, because just to be sure it does not mess up with our function that we have with open. So what it requires is the path, and since we are only going to be reading the file, we are reading from the file, so we'll type in r and we'll name it open as file. Yep, okay, this, yes. So now what we want to do is we want to read the content of the file, and then if we have anything written on our IDE, we want to clear that and then paste the content of the file that we are opening into the text editor over there. So that's what we'll do. So we'll say text editor dot, or before we even do that, we first actually need to read the file. So for that we will say again, we'll call it code equals to file dot read. So this will get uh, all the information or the data that is written into the file. Then we can say text editor dot delete, and what we want to delete is, so basically everything starting from 1.0 till the end. So that basically means anything that is there in the text editor, delete it. And once we have deleted everything, we also want to insert or add in the code that we have read from the file. So for that we have a function which is called insert, and we'll say text editor dot insert. Again, where we want to insert from the starting to the end. So we'll just copy it from there and paste it here. And yeah, we don't want end. In this case we want the code to be pasted, so we want to start from line number 1 and add the code. Yes, and that's pretty much it. Let's see if this actually works. So let's head on to our command prompt and run this again. Okay, wait, I just realized it won't work because we have not connected it to our buttons over here. So over here we need to change it to open my file, right? And yes, now it looks like it should work. So I've saved the code, run it again, and this time around when I click open, it should open up. Yes, so yeah, we can open up the code. Okay, but let's not open it now, and let me type something so that we can actually see if the code that is in here is getting erased. So let's go to file, open, and open up a new file. So we'll just open it this one. So yeah, there you go. The random text that I typed in has been removed, and our code that we are working on is actually over here. And press the exit button. It worked fine as well. Okay, so let's move on to implementing our save. So we'll say we create a function called save my file as. So this is basically for the save as, and then we will see what we need to do for the save. But for the save as, what we need to do is, so the basic idea is whenever the user clicks on save as, it gets a file dialog pop up which asks the user to type in the name of the file and then saves it to the location. So what we first need to do is we need to get the path, and that is by asking the user for the path. Okay, wait, I just realized that I imported the wrong thing earlier. So what I need to import is ask save as file name and ask open file name. So just, sorry, excuse me for that, and this should be ask save as file name. And yeah, and then again it asks, it needs parameters, and these parameters will be the same because we are again saving it as .py file. So, and this is also very much similar, so we'll copy this code. Now what we want to do is we want to first read all the code that is there inside the text editor of our IDE and then write it to the file. So that's what we'll be doing. And one thing is, instead of R we are typing W here because this time around we are writing to the file rather than reading from it, and the code will be not file.read but text editor.get and get from 1.0 to the end. So it's 1.0 comma end, and then we don't want to delete it and we don't want to insert it. So yeah, we can just remove these two lines of code, and we can say file dot write, and now we can actually write the code that we copied into the file. So yeah, I think this should work. And one last thing is, when we go to the save as, we need to change this to save my file as, otherwise we'll run into some weird errors and won't even know what's wrong. So let's run our code and see if anything is wrong or not working. So let me just type in anything and see if it gets saved. So file, save as. Yep, there we go. It's asking us for writing the name, so let's just name it test esd.py and save it. And now if we want to open it, we can try opening the file. We can say search for test asd, yes, and open it, and there you go. That is our file. Okay, if you don't believe me, let me just clean it and open it up again, because the exact same thing was written already there. So yeah, it did actually open up the file and the file actually got saved. So yeah, this method was a success. Now we will look into how we can implement the save method. For saving the file, what we can do is we can use the same method as the save as file, but for that we need to first get the path of the file that we are working on. So let's say if we are working on a certain file, we need, if we have the path, we can save or add to that file or overwrite the file with the new additions that have been made. So what I'll do is I'll create a global variable to store the path. So let's create a global variable called okay, first let's just call it gpath, for standing for global path. And once we have the global path, what we want to do is go into the save file method. Okay, let's just create it and initialize it. So gpath is equal to initially empty. Then inside our save file method, what we do is we check that if our file path is we need to check that if the g path is empty, then we will ask the user to save the file or save as. However, if the g path is not empty, then it will save in the same location. So for that, we will write a simple if statement. It says if g path uh, equal null or empty, then what we do is we ask for, or basically we can just copy this line. I can indent it and delete this. So okay, let me not just do that and delete this entire line. Okay, so if the g path is empty, we do this. Else what we do is go back here, and else we can say that our path is equal to gpath. Okay, so this way we should be able to get the path. And yeah, we have to do the same thing or similar thing for the ask open my file as well. So what happens is when the user opens the file, we have to store the path of the file so that we can later use it to save the file when the user clicks on the save button. So for that, we'll simply come here and we will say gpath equals to path. So we need to copy this and put it for the save as well. So here about that. So let me just change this gpath. So let me just do this. So I can say global gpath, right? And gpath equals path, and do that over here as well. Global gpath. Okay, not grpath but gpath. Okay, hopefully this should work. Try again for another time and see what happens. So let's open a file and test. Okay, no, this one, probably this one, and add in some more 3 lines of garbage and save it. Yeah, so it is saved since we didn't get the pop-up for save as. Now just to see if this has been saved, now this has 1 2 3 and 6 lines of text. Now if I go ahead and remove all this and open the file again, they should bring back the file with 6 lines. Yes, so there it is. So now we have the open working, save as working, and of course exit works as well. So let's just clean this and head on to our last part. Now the last part is that what we want to like what's happening now is we are seeing the text editor and we are getting the output on the command prompt or the terminal in case you're using Linux. But we don't want to do that. We want to have the output or the errors and everything inside the same IDE GUI. So let's implement that. To do that, first we need to create another text editor. So we need to create another text area where we can see the output. So let's quickly do that. And okay, where we, yeah, under here we can say, okay, that let's just name it output. Oh, sorry, output. Oh my god, what's happening to my spelling? Sorry. Output equals, again, let's create text and give it a height of 7. Now this is something that you can play around with or choose, and give it a height of 7. This will make it bigger or smaller depending on the height that you give. So I feel that 7 is a good number, but you can again try and whatever works with you, you can choose that number. And then yep, let me quickly show you how this looks. Okay, before we can actually see it, we need to say, okay, not here, we need to say window, sorry, not window, output dot pack, output dot pack, and this will add it to our GUI. Let's run it again, and yeah, there you see. So this is our first one, and this is the second one where we will see our errors. So yeah, and if you change the height, this it will change this line. So if you increase the height, this will take it further up. If you decrease it, further down. So if you go below 7, it will take this bar down. So yeah, you can, I feel that 7 is fine, but again, you can change it if you prefer something else.